No, yeah, thanks for doing this to me. I really was looking forward to this. It's kind of funny how it fell in place because when you guys were here filming part of the episode for Chicago Fire, we ended up just hanging out with a lot of people.
Yeah.
Because everyone on your guys' crew
Yeah.
is so cool and easy to get along with.
Yeah.
And I wasn't necessarily surprised,
Yeah.
but it was a pleasant surprise,
Yeah.
and I ended up talking to you. Well, me and Katie ended up talking to you for
Yeah.
quite a while.
Yeah.
And then I was like, hey, man, maybe we should actually do a podcast. And you were like, I love talking. I'll talk your ass off, man.
But yeah, my mom used to say like, he's a Midwest. And I told my mom, all these people are great. They're wonderful. My mom was from the Midwest. And I asked her first, she goes, yeah, I'm from Wisconsin. I'm from the Midwest. My mom used to say, he's probably from the Midwest. So his values, that's what I consider fire too. And I felt that in you too. You know what I mean? Like, you might not have been born here, but you're a Midwesterner. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if you're living in Chicago, you're committed.
Yeah.
And that's why you feel it too. That gang is awesome. Yeah.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. The leadership is amazing. Reza, the whole gang over there is dynamite.
Yeah. It was really, really easy to deal with from the beginning all the way to the end.
Yeah.
And it was kind of funny because when I first got in touch with you guys, I had just mentioned it to a couple of people that I just talked to about everything.
Yeah.
And a couple of people were like, don't do it. Your place is going to get ruined. Like,
how can you ruin weights?
I don't know, man. But like, people were telling me, to be, cautious and all that. And I was like, nah, man, I'm going to go for it. And I've said this a handful of times on this podcast, but this place is for sure a gym.
Yeah.
I've always wanted it to be more than that.
Yeah.
In many different ways. Like, I've always wanted it to be as artistic as we can possibly be.
This is your garage, dude. That's what I liked about it, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And, we always kind of have this ongoing joke, like, mom and dad aren't home. No one's here to tell us what to do.
Exactly.
And I mean that.
And I make money now, so I can do things with that.
Yeah. We actually, pay the bills.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whatever. But no, so, I was really excited when that kind of fell in our lap.
Yeah.
And then when you guys came here to check it out, that was easy.
Yeah.
Even the everyone showing up, which I didn't realize how many people would be here.
Yeah.
And it actually wasn't overwhelming, but everyone got here at the same time.
Yeah.
Everyone was just unloading everything and setting up. And you guys are just such a greased, grooved machine.
Yeah. We were rooted early in this TV show for sure.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the leadership that we had at the beginning and even the leadership now with Reza and stuff.
Yeah.
Those are our lead directors and the people that create our show. There's rooms of them at Universal and stuff. I call it the Wolf Lair.
Yeah.
And that's where they create the content and that's where they edit the content and that's where they make the sound and put it all together. And I had a chance one summer when I was younger, when I first started this thing, like season 2, I went out there. I'm like, I want to see what goes on.
Yeah.
It's like, and as a Midwesterner, in the film business, I'm blown away. Every time I've been there to California, it's just amazing because it's such a machine, the way the stuff's run. And we always tried to mimic that, but in a Midwestern point of view. And that's how I run my gang. My gang of electricians, and I'm a very a liberal boss, and I like to let the guys, you figure it out. You know what I mean? I already did when I was younger. So I got a lot of good the guys like Ed and, the guys that are younger than me. I came up, with John Candy and things like that. It's just like, the first time I worked with him, I watched him in movies when I was a child, you know what I mean? And then since seeing him and then being to work with those guys, that's what really I was such a film watcher because of my mother. And that's how I got so involved with it. And then I'm like, wait, I can do this for a living? And it became true. I lived, next door to, in the same neighborhood, Addison, Illinois, is where I grew up. And I grew up with the Credidio gang. And John Credidio was my best friend. And we were the same age.
Yeah.
And his father owned a studio in the city of Chicago. And that's how I got involved with it. But it just it was such a great thing. I just got out of high school, you know what I mean? It's like, my mom's like, you going to go to college? I'm like, I don't really think, Mom. And she was like, Well, you probably waste their money, because I had a little soccer scholarship going when I was younger, that I could have got Lewis University. And I was like, I'm going to the film business. It was, and and then I'd be walking around with wads of cash in my pocket because I was a young kid working.
Yeah.
The film business is like, it's a good moneymaker for sure.
So you mentioned that you got into movie watching through your mother. Was your mom a huge film buff?
Loved the films. She would sit us on the couch, you know what I mean? Creature feature for us kids growing up in my age group was big. You sat on the couch Saturday night, you watched the creature feature dude come on the screen, and then they'd play, and WGN at the time was playing all those movies. They just had them all, and they were black and whites, and it was Bela Lugosi, was all those old, and I kind of like loved it, you know what I mean? It's like, that's how, and my mom was like, oh, Joe Namath, he's so pretty, and I became a Jets fan when I was a kid. So the Bears and the Jets, because he wore that mink jacket. My mom was, he's so handsome, you know what I mean? And that's what she saw as a child. And so I was rooted in this area too. My grandparents they loved the horses, and they wept the day that Arlington racetrack burned down. But as children, we'd be at Maywood at the, at the buggy races, and then, just shopping around the city. And then I ended up in that same hostel. That's kind of where I'm at, Grand and First Avenue. And which is Cumberland and First if you go the other way. But Kitty Land, and, there was some go-kart tracks there, and batting cages and stuff. And so as a kid, I kind of grew up in that area. So I'm a Midwesterner for sure, but that's what I like about when you meet people that you enjoy, and you're always like, I always ask where they were from, and it's like, if they have those values, Midwestern values, that's what my mom kind of alluded to, but you felt it on her crew, right?
No, absolutely. And that was a big reason why I mentioned doing this to you. At this point, I guess at this age or maturity level or whatever in my life, I've sort of created a gauge for people. And I know that they're easy to be around. I'm comfortable being around them. Because we're just on the same wavelength. And I felt from you, and I felt from other people that even though you could have a giant, huge, like stinking ego, there was none, and it makes people want to talk to you. And that's why I was so enamored with you guys, because Chicago Fire is such a hit show. And it's different than a lot of other TV shows because, of course, when there's a good TV show, people like it, and I like talking about it. But there's this weird affinity with Chicago Fire, and it's even outside of Chicago. And I feel like people can just really relate to it, and they get really excited about it. And I feel like they take on this weird ownership of the show. So, for example, we just had a girl move here from Russia, literally to train in the gym. She messaged me from Russia on Instagram 2 years ago. She said, one of these days I'm going to move to Chicago and I'll work in your gym. So I was like, yeah, I'm sure, like I thought it was like a bot, and then she showed up, I think it was mid-January. She was like, I'm here, and I'm going to join the gym and work here now. And she mentioned to me in February when the Chicago Fire thing happened, she goes, me and my husband have been watching Chicago Fire for years. In Russia. And I can't believe that.
They're like 2 or 3 seasons behind us and stuff.
Really?
We get German-speaking people at the firehouse. They show up, and they're
like,
and they're like, and I'm like, what's he saying? And fire. He goes, and they're from Germany, and the guy's training to be a fireman in Germany, and him and his family came, and they're like, well, we're going to go to Chicago. Let's check out Chicago Fire. That's
awesome.
And they waited on us, and you could call the, if you wanted to, you could call the film office, kind of find out where we're going to be, or check the internet. Usually, cool. It's up in a couple days where we're going to be, but it's nice. I love the fandom, man. I mean, I walk down the street sometimes and I hear Bones Lullo, and I'm like, I got fans. And then I do that polar plunge. I don't know if you're interested. I'll hit you up next time we do it. I love it.
I would be interested in that.
Oh my God, it's so much fun.
Also because in the last year and a half or so, I've gotten into like sauna ice bath sort of deal.
That's awesome.
Whether it's I don't know if it's meditation or if there's actual science behind it.
There's
I don't
science.
Really care,
it's a brain science.
But but I do it. I love it. It does a world of difference for me.
And every day, right?
Yeah, I mean, as much as I can. Yeah. Katie tries to go every day. I go once or twice a week. Yeah, it really resets me quite a bit. But if you do the polar plunge, I'll definitely
we do it every year.
I'll try to pull Matt or whoever I can and do it.
Get out of the water. this year. It's the craziest thing. Like fans are off the chain, right? So I make these T-shirts, whatever, and I wear these T-shirts, and then I say to the crew, you know, because One Chicago gets to go in right after the mayor. Like I had Brandon Johnson come take a picture with us, and then 1 week later he shows up on set. He's like, "Hey, dude, you know, it's like I try to, you know what I mean? Like even Pritzker and when they send their people to a set, Chicago Fire, they're usually like, "Hey, follow him around," and it's me. You know, I mean, it's because I enjoy that kind of, you know, it's like I came when we had one movie a year. That's how I came up, 2 movies a year. It's like the movie business and the television business in Chicago was so tiny, and then you could go through time where they had little TV shows like Chicago Story and you know, the Chicago Police, and there's different ones that they were having throughout. And then one time they had this show they brought to town. It was with Gene Simmons was playing this vigilante, and he lasted 2 days. They fired him. Sent everybody home for a couple of days. Got a new actor to take
personality.
over. He was horrible. No, he was supposed to be this like I can't remember because I'm old and stupid. But it's this. It was this like vigilante was dressed up. It's gonna come to me as probably when we're sitting looking at pictures.
Yeah, of course.
But it was like things like that. But the film business in Chicago is just so minute, you know, Color of Money. And if you go back, there was a movie called Mahogany. And then there was that movie with Timothy Hutton that was, another old school movie. But you could see, like, there wasn't, you know, then before that, The Fury, which was another, like, horror film. But slowly but surely, Chicago was starting to put its name on the map, you know. But, I mean, to be honest, this is where Charlie Chaplin started everything. I mean, they were in Chicago when they were starting to do their movies and stuff. And the only reason why they left because they couldn't deal with the winters. You know, we could do this 24/7 in California.
So it was just more of a matter of the seasonal obstacles.
Absolutely. And you could buy a big piece of property in California and make a studio.
I didn't realize that Charlie Chaplin.
Chaplin, yeah. SNA. That's, I mean, kind of where it came from. You know, you know, the both of them, and it's kind of cool because we just shot where his residence was, his building. And amazing properties in Chicago. I mean, when you go up and down the lakefront, you're like, how did these people make the money? Well, those were the Hormels, and those were the, you know, the guys that built Chicago, you know, the Burnhams, they lived over here, you know, at 18th in Chicago.
It is a funny thing when you drive around, you know, because
crazy.
Obviously the architecture here, I mean, I've lived here for quite a long time. You know, you've been around twice that. And so you always think about the architecture from just the standpoint of seeing, you know, the amazement of how it was built, how long it's been there, the timelessness of it. But the thing that always really throws me for a loop is figuring out how that person was able to attain those types of finances in order to build that structure. And then also keep it, you know, as it is. And then to your point, there's probably a storyline behind each one that goes back.
That facade that's at your back gate? What? Like I was when we were here before, I got a chance to look at it, and I got a chance this morning to look at it again. It's like, who built that?
So
you know, it's it's a movie facade. It looks like.
We have kind of a rough idea of what it is. There's been like a lot of talk about it, and so we think that at one point this place originally was some type of welding shop or fabrication shop. In the 30s, 40s, and 50s. And then somewhere along the line, 60s, 70s, 80s, something like that, it became a church. And the guy who owned the church, it was a Latino guy, and he owned a construction company, and he was also a pastor. So he was the pastor of the church.
Really?
And from what I understand, he built that sort of archway. I think it was to represent, you know, something church-like, because this building, you know, is an old warehouse. It's a square, rectangular, brutal structure. And I think he just wanted to have something that was like angelic or representative of the church.
Or, like something bigger that you're looking up to, because that's something about, you know, religion. It's always with the Catholicism, especially. It's like, walking to these churches, like, what the heck? I'm starving over here. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And so, and then we believe that might have been their entrance for at some point.
Oh, that's cool.
So we were pretty thrown off by that, because originally when this gym started, we only had access to the side that you walked in on. And then in 2020, we had the opportunity to demo and build out the space we're sitting in.
Yeah.
So I really didn't use the back for quite some time until we took over the entire property.
Yeah.
And at some point it dawned on me that thing was sitting there.
Yeah.
And I had to try to figure out what was going on.
It houses the gate though. The gate goes underneath it. It's interesting.
Yeah,
for sure.
That's cool you noticed that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you guys have been doing this show for 13 seasons, right?
Yeah, we're going 14. Correct? This is 14 and PD is 12. And, Med is 9, I think, so it's, just, that whole thing, if you're interested in it, it's One Chicago, the way that it evolved was, our first season, we're coming up on our 22nd episode and we have a drunk driver crash, right? And that's when we meet Hank Foyt. Mm-hmm. We made Hank, the bad guy, he was a bad cop at the time. When we first met him, we didn't know, and so that was the first try we had at making a pilot. So we did this, we took him, put him into our 22nd episode, and then Dick and them guys started to put some people together. They had JB Smooth as was the desk cop when we first started. Yeah. And so it was episode 22 and we got to meet the PD guys, and then Universal says, okay, we like this. Now let's make a real pilot. So we did like 10 more days, made the real pilot for them, and then, added more parts to it because you just got to show them at Universal. Dick that's his game. I'll show you. Watch this. I'll make me a PD series. Yeah. And I begged him, and this is me and his people. I talk to his people all the time. Yeah. I said, we should call it Chicop Show. And he's like, that's funny. Get out of here, kid, Yeah. And it became PD. Like they giggled at it. That was my name for it. But that's how PD got started. And then Fire, after the next couple seasons, he wants to try this med thing. So we did this thing where Severide and they get blown up. This guy blows up a hospital. Yeah. And all the debris and stuff. And that's how med got started. And our first try.
Oh, because of that particular
we put a bunch of med people in it. So we put a bunch of doctors in the aftermath, and so it got NBC interested in it. And then all of a sudden, so we did that 2 seasons in a row, like 22nd episode, we introduced this med thing. And the first season, the first time we tried it, it would have been, we would have had Chicago Fire, Chicago PD, and Chicago Med one after the other. If NBC would have listened to Dick, we would have had them boom, right. It would have been season 14, season 12, and season 11. But they were kind of suspect. They're like, we don't know. And then finally, they're like the third time we tried it. Yep. Boom, it nailed it. And they made a little pilot after that. We did like another 10 days of filming to get the, the actors down, and it worked out great, Have
you ever noticed that about like life in general, where if you're just willing to start something, and stick with it?
Oh my God.
Obviously you have to bust your ass and you have to really like grind every day and, put a lot into it. But you ever notice that certain things just sort of like align, and then you have like this little thing going, and then now there's this next little thing. And I actually had a conversation with someone yesterday about just like, you're sort of at some point being guided by this weird force, man, that like just kind of tells you what to do, and you put the work in, and just you ever notice that things like that happen? Because that sounds
part of the God Squad. I don't know if I believe in God, and so it puts me in a place where I have to really focus on being this leader. You know what I mean? And I can never be a spiritual leader. There's no way. I am a piece of garbage. You know what I mean? Like I am the biggest piece.
We're in a similar boat.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like my Catholicism upbringing brings you to that, but I definitely believe in a God. You know what I mean? And it's something my kid at one time, she's 27 now. I was talking to your wife about it. My kid came up to me. She said, "Dad, I don't think I believe in God." I'm like, "Okay, cool for you. I didn't find him until I was 50." I went through all this struggle my whole life fighting Catholicism and whatnot. I just feel that it's something that works for me too. And,
no, I agree.
I feel like I have this little movement, get up and do it. You know what I mean? And I think that happens with the gym a lot too. Like why I'm not in the gym is because I don't have that push after I just worked, to like get in the gym.
You guys are gnarly.
But still, I should be able to be in the gym, even on my time off. And I'm like, wait a minute. I'm cutting down trees, I'm doing my work, but I'm always like, I tug up the floor in my second floor and put down something. But it's always like this, like you said, this energy. And my kid now knows it now too, that grind, that every day, get in the car, start the car. Like, why? Yeah. What am I doing this for? You know what I mean?
You got to let that human part of yourself out. You can't just like be a robot all the time. I've tried it. It's not sustainable. So, even like today when we were getting rolling, Char was like, "Hey, can you check the audio?" And I was like, yo, yo, yo.
Yeah.
She's like, dude, you have such low energy. And I was like, I know I do, but I was like, I'll get it going, when we start the shit up. So you got to have those like moments of just like lacklusterness. But no, to your point, about, religion and all that. So I actually grew up Catholic as well.
Yeah.
And I wasn't raised in like an extremely strict Catholic family, but it was an important part of my childhood in our house.
Yeah.
When I went to college, I thought I was, smarter than everyone because I took a couple philosophy classes.
Yeah. Are you a middle kid?
Technically, I have an older half sister.
Oh, there you have it. I'm a middle kid too.
Yeah, and then and my younger sister is my full sister, so technically I'm the middle.
Yeah.
I came back from college and I just told my mom, or not, it wasn't, I don't know if I was in college or if it was before, but there was a period of time where I started like questioning things, and a lot of it had to do with some of the philosophy classes I was taking.
Yeah.
And I said, hey mom, like, I'm not going to go to church anymore. I'm not really into this. It was not perceived super well. But
my mom wept.
yeah, exactly. But over time, my parents dealt with it really gracefully, and they gave me a lot of patience. And I'm talking like a decade and a half or more of patience.
That's good.
And the nice thing about that is
you got to figure it out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It let me figure out what I actually thought about everything.
Yeah.
So I went from, being like, following my religion that was presented to me in my house that I grew up in, to none of it at all. And in fact, at some point I was like very anti-religion. Some of that is because I grew up in the hardcore metal scene, and that's promoted. It's promoted and encouraged, right? It's like, it's like the art, it's a lot of the bands, it's the message, it's the politics behind it, whatever. And then as I got older, and especially as I, and this is just my own personal thing, but as I saw like the world just kind of sort of falling apart in the last, I don't know, 5-6 years.
Yeah.
I had this internal sort of thing that just told me that I was like, well, you need to figure out a way to think differently about religion. And so I don't know exactly where I sit with it, but I know that I am leaning on the side of like where I grew up.
Yeah.
And I talked to my mom about this at this point, and I said, hey, like, I think I'm coming back a little bit, and I don't know if it's like entirely what it originally was. But all I know is that I'm not on the other side of things where I'm like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I don't like that. In fact, I'm going to try to like destroy that thing. So, and it's been really nice.
Yeah.
And I think that's sort of what I was alluding to earlier about like finding some sort of guidance in life. I did have a weird question for you. So is there an Anthony Lullo character on Chicago Fire? Does that have anything to do with you?
Yeah.
Is that a reference to you, or like
the writers came in, and the writers are part of our show, and so they look at crew names and stuff, and so like the main creators, Derek Haas and Michael Brandt, they, my friends, and they're like, hey, we want to use your name as a mobster.
Because it has a nice ring to it.
Yeah.
It really does.
He's in jail, but he tried to kill Mills,
Yeah,
so, I got to meet him, and the actor who played him, this fellow Russo, he, he was the guy that he was in Beverly Hills Cop, the original. He was his friend that was killed in the Mikey, who comes from California with the bear bonds. And
okay, gotcha. All right.
That's who Anthony Lullo was in Chicago Fire. Famous actor. He did another movie with when the girls trapped him. He tried to rape these women in the house, and they put him in the fireplace. I can't remember the name of the movie. Once again, my old brain stops working, but he was also in that movie too. He's a famous bit actor. Yeah, I think he was in Fast Times in Ridgemont High too. When they go to rob, when he goes to rob him at the end, and then he crashes him in the head, and that's
I'm gonna have to rewatch that.
Oh my god, I watched it the other day, dude. I'm a movie freak, yesterday, I tell you what, I watched War of the Worlds. And I'd seen the movie when it first came out. It's 2000. It was 20 years ago. Tom Cruise he's a filmmaker. He was from the beginning, even when he did Risky Business. That stuff is iconic. And I was still in high school when that came out, so that movie has a lot of weight to it. But I got to work with the guys that did that movie, that did The Untouchables, that did Ferris Bueller's Day Off, because I was still in high school. And so that's what attracted me a lot.
Did you know that those were the people that you were around when that was happening?
Yeah,
or were you sort of
the union was so small at the time, I was member like 400, now we have 2,700 members, and it's local 476.
How old are you during that time period? like when that was happening?
Probably in my 20s,
Sounds like
because 18, I was in the rental shop from 18 to 21, and then I was out of the rental shop and I was in the field. That was my apprentice work, and so I ran the rental house in Chicago, Studio City for 3 years, kind of. I'd go out on weekends and stuff, like to make extra money. I'd take a generator or something out. But there was a movie called The Tender that was shot here in Chicago with John Travolta was in it, right? And it was a whatever crap movie. But I remember being in the rental shop and getting ready to close up, and this Teamster walks up and he's talking to my boss, and I see him, blah, 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 blah. Next thing I know, he goes, "Get it, come on, go with him. You're going to the city." And I'm like, "What? What did I do?" He goes, "Go with him to Sam." The guy, the Teamster, grabs me. I get into the picture car, which is this giant Cadillac, the Tender. This giant. It must have been in its 70s. It was a long Cadillac, and he's like, "Follow me, kid. We're going to the set." And I'm like, so I drive the thing out there, and I park it on set, and there comes Travolta. He walks, jumps in the car, and takes off, and they start doing their scene, and blah blah blah. I'm hanging around for 2 hours on the set.
That's incredible.
And I was in the rental shop at the time. I was 19 years old, and so it was like infected me.
So you went from the rental shop to that.
Yeah, and so then I knew all the Teamsters and the drivers, and all the carpenters, and those are all my brothers and sisters now. I belong to 2 locals, local 476 and 600.
And that's lighting and film.
And camera.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, and camera. Okay. Yeah. So do you think that, you got your hats there, right?
No, but I brought those for you.
Oh, nice.
You can do what you want with them. I had 2 left. I had a season 12.
Yeah.
I don't know if
I got those hats right here. From,
cool. Great.
The fire episode.
Yeah. I threw a couple at you, right?
Yeah.
You could do what you want with this. It's the last I have.
I actually had people asking me for those. Okay. So I might gift.
I was thinking, like, if there was a way at home, like when you start to get like your feet, like someone maybe say a question or something from, and if they can answer it, boom, they can have a hat. You know what I mean? Or something like that. You know what I mean? It might be cool, because it gets people to watch and interested in stuff.
We'll do that for sure.
Yeah, it's kind of funny.
I did have a question for you. So when you sort of got springboarded into like, seeing Travolta on set or, being in that guy's Cadillac, do you think things like that really sort of set you up, whether you realize it or not, to keep you motivated and keep you inspired to
absolutely?
I'm sure you wanted to emulate that feeling or that level of involvement. Yeah. Right. I mean,
dude, they used to leave me like a dog at the warehouse. So I would load these shows. Okay, we're doing Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, right? And so that's a movie when I was in the rental house. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Everybody's seen it with John Candy. And then I was in the rental house. I loaded all those trucks. So all that equipment came from us at Chicago Studio City. Yeah. So I load trucks with these studio mechanics who are the guys that are shooting the movie. Yeah. And we'd load up the trucks and then they'd take off and leave me there every time. And it just made me more hungry. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's Saturdays. What's on Saturday? I'd call the union hall and they're like, "Tony," right? And nobody wanted to work on Saturdays. So I'd hang up the phone. I'm available. Click. I put the phone down and I'd wait and pick it up, and it would be the BA from local 476. Yeah. "Tony, go to blah, 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 in Clybourne." And I'd show up and I'd do my weekend work, and then I'd be back in the rental house on Monday. So you'd make yourself
available on Saturday.
I wanted to be with that gang. They were all cool. They all smoked. They all tough guys. You know what I mean? Like the guys that I watched and loaded shows with, they're all they're all my friends now. I do this thing called Lunch with Legends. I've been trying to do it for a lot of years. It's like, so I invite an older guy out that was doing the Untouchables, and he's one of our legends in our local, and I invited him to lunch a couple weeks back. Yeah. So I show up, and about 6 other dudes show up, and he doesn't even know. I was like, "It's me and you at a nice lit table, and the candle be burning." It was like a love story, kind of. And then all of a sudden, these dudes start walking in. He was so blown away. We had so much fun, but of course, he tries to take the bill. I had already taken care of it, like on the internet or something. I was like, punching my card, so whatever. But it's fun though. The business has like this flavor to it that made me want to be hungry. You know what I mean? Like, because especially in this business and kind of anything, if you're sitting on the couch and not doing something, you're kind of falling behind, you know what I mean? Like, but if you're in the work mode, and I try to do that in my life mode too, but it's just hard, it's not enough time in the day, but that hunger is important. And then I have these, at the studio we shoot at now at DePaul, it's really close to us. Yeah. And the kids have this program at DePaul. My friend runs it, Joe Lyons. And it's amazing that I see these young kids going through the breezeway, going to their classroom. They got to go by all 3 stages, and we're one of them.
Yeah.
And I see these children, and they're so amazing because they have like this different quality now, and people are like, oh, nobody has the work ethic of us guys. Well, we're stupid that way. You know what I mean? Like, these are going to be the leaders these are going to be not the guys that are picking stuff up off the ground. These are going to be filmmakers. You know what I mean? These are the guys that are behind the camera.
Yeah.
And I'm blown away. I invite these kids in to our stage sometimes, and they're just like, it's so awesome. And I love that. And
what is it that you notice about them that makes you feel like the way that they're going to work or their outlook on efficiency is going to be different? Like,
I just think like it's a stereotype for sure. You know, like our generation be always like, oh, these damn kids, blah 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 blah. You know, I'm like, what?
It is easy to think like that. I don't know why.
I do kind of. You know, it's like
I catch myself all the time. I don't. Maybe it's just part of aging.
Kids, you know. But what I like about the kids is I went to do this. I do these seminars every once in a while. I did one at my union. I did one at DePaul one time, and I go in there and I start speaking to these kids, and I watch, and they show me for some of their projects, you know, and I walk around the stage and I look at the girls versus the guys, and I'm like, I go, fellas, take a look at the girls.
Yeah.
Look what they're doing.
Yep.
And they're like, we're guys, you know, like, and they were raised by men like me.
Of course.
So, but I said, take their color palette. Those are all blues and steely. This is sexy cool.
Yeah.
You know, like they would take, like I do that too. I take like a colored napkin or something, or a towel. I throw it over a lamp in a corner, just created some shape, some color. And so with the girls in that class, the color palette was just amazing. Peaches and things that's sexy cool.
Yep.
And then the guys are, I said, just fellas, look over there. You know, try to
kind of boxing themselves.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, I love to do things like that. Like, sometimes we add color to a set.
Yep.
And they're like, Tony, what color do you want on it? Oh, my God. You know, I'm like, you pick it.
Yeah. Like, what do you think? Like, what makes sense?
It comes back with cyan. I love it. Cyan's one of my favorites. You know, it's this greenish, ugly, cool color. You know, that's kind of cool. And you see it a lot in these TV shows, you know, but I love that inspiration portion of it. Sometimes I'll start singing that Whitney Houston song, you know, I believe that children are our future. And you know, I start singing it and they're like, you again, you know, so I'll tell you it's Tony, you know, because I make them smile. Crazy. Oh my God, I love them so much. Every time they make me talk to children.
Yeah.
Because our Cine Cares project's another thing that I was talking about, a diversity project that we have that's started by our producers.
Yeah.
And now it's awesome. So we get maybe 20 or 30 people, and it's picked by the Chicago Film Office and some other things. And the Cine Cares Project has their own little office where they pick kids that are not ever going to go to the film business. They say, what do you think about the film business? I have one of the first guys on my crew. He started with me, Josh Brown. He's awesome. He's one of my favorites.
That's what's up.
He's caring. And I asked Josh one time, I says, tell me about... And he starts talking to me, and the first thing he says, I love my mother. I go, me too. You know what I mean? Like,
he said that randomly to you?
He said it randomly to me, you know?
He just asked him to tell you about himself?
I said, tell me about yourself. What do you do? What's up? What are you going? Well, I take care, I help my mother out. You know what I mean? And so, like, immediately I was attracted to him.
That's cool. That's like his interest.
He's on my crew now. He's one of my favorites.
I think it tells you right away that person's also going to take care of your shit.
And he cares about the humanity of the guys. See, that's what's important. I have a super diverse crew. I have women on my crew all the time. Not many women. You know, I don't need the women to do the heavy lifting. I need them to be close to me, to put things on lights and be like ninjas. You know what I mean? The guys are always too loud for me. It's like, I'm the loudest in the room already. So there's enough
you don't
of me.
Need like 20 other loud people.
But, you know, I just love that diversity that they brought to us, you know? And so you take the 25 people that they bring us and they distribute them through props department and set dressing. And then sometimes wardrobe will take one, and, you know, a grip will take one.
There's like a fashion aspect to it. Like,
great. They ask the kids, where do you think you want to do? They have no idea. So someone's like, well, I was thinking like, maybe I could be a director. Well, then we put you in the AD department. And then the one kid says, oh, I'm going to do the lighting. Well, you give them to me. That's Tony. Or the grip, I'll give them to, you know, if Ed Titus was with Adam, who you met, one of wonderful fellow.
Yeah, he was so nice.
Adam Hurst is like, he took over for 45-year veteran, Mike Lewis, who I came up idolizing. He was my key grip for the last 12 years on fire. And then we gave it to Adam because he's like a great human. But it's always like that. I feel like that Cine Curse project also brings us kids. And I've had failures with it too.
Yeah.
It's like I had a couple of them that
failed.
There's
challenges,
You know what? All of a sudden, my producer is telling me, well, we're going to fire that kid. I go, wait a minute. They're going to fire one of the guys on my crew, the Cine Cares guy.
Yeah.
What if are you? You're not doing that. I go, I'm the boss.
Yeah.
And so they called him and they said, you're done because he didn't show up.
Yeah.
I knew why he didn't show up. He had to help with his grandfather.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like I wanted him.
It may be something deeper than just
They fired him on the
level.
phone. I called him up. I said, get back in here. And I called the office. I said, don't ever do that shit again. I won't take it. You know what I mean? It could be.
It's cool.
And me and HR have this understanding. I've been in HR stuff lots of times. And the one thing I always remember with HR is just tell the truth. Yeah, you don't have to lie. If you were a rotten scoundrel, tell me you're a rotten scoundrel. Yeah. Admit it.
Maybe it's better that way. Just let them know what's going on.
You see what's
that it's called
Cinecare's project. Yeah, it's awesome.
Is it how do they find the people that they pull into that? Is it certain neighborhoods or is it like a demographic thing or like? Because I'm just curious, like where they actually like.
Well, high schools is one thing. They find kids that want to come out of high school or come out of high school and are not so interested in going to college. And so when we first started it, we had this woman running, Sheila Brown, and she would find these kids. And so here's Josh Brown. I go, is this a relative? She goes, no, it's no relative, but I needed kids. This is where I find them. I have to go out and find kids. And she went out and find great kids. We have so many like winning ones. And the one guy who was with us in the beginning, Jordan Norwood, he's a prop guy now. You know what I mean? Like, and then, so the thing with our union was we never would have want that. You know what I mean? But I'm like, this is one Chicago, people. You have to let that happen. And sure enough, it was funded by the producers. So it's all great. One Chicago, Dick Wolf Production makes Cine Cares project work. Wow. Without their money, we can't do it. There's no way. And then our union, what we do is, so when we give the person a union card, we usually buy the union card for them. So it's around $1,600. And
that's your like contribute. Well, you also contributing your time and mentorship. And
I love
you also are contributing sort of like, this is your gift. To,
and the only the negotiation that I had with Cine Cares at the beginning, because Carla Corwin was the woman that started that. Yeah. She was one of our first. She was our first UPM, and then she went on to be a producer on Med. Yeah. But her thing was that I had with her was that we're not taking this intern and making him part of this crew. Yeah. We're adding him on. So you don't want to take away a union guy's job. And that was the most important thing to my union. Yep. Like, I don't want to lose a union job. Like I'm standing up at the meeting trying to talk to these idiots. Yeah. And some of them are. I've fought with guys in meetings all the time. Union meetings are very, they're good and bad. You know what I mean? It's like, because I want to meet the guy outside. You know what I mean? Let's talk. And it's like, he's like, we're losing our jobs. It's like South Park or something. It's like, you know what I mean? I always think, if South Park didn't do it, I know the effect. Because I used to say, we're losing our jobs.
Yeah, if South Park didn't do it, there would be people doing it anyway.
I used to say it all the time. Like, we're not losing our jobs. That internship also is what I was talking about earlier is Bob Title and George Tillman with the barbershop movies. When we started those things. And all four of those people that we had for both barbershop movies, we had one grip, one electric on each one. So there's 4 people that came into the first project that these guys started. And 3 out of the 4 are in the film business and amazing. The one person, she just decided not to be in it anymore because it's a rough business. But the other 3, one of them runs the Paul with Joe Lyons, and another one, Mark Benet, who he does. But it's all that kind of stuff like that. They come out of college. Yeah. Those are the kids that came out of college, that came out of Columbia, because both of those guys came out of Columbia Film School. So that kind of started that whole process. And our union really had a problem with it at the beginning. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so one of the conditions was with this beginning, with these guys, was that you can't take a union job away. And then so we're at the meetings, and then like the membership goes, well, they can't touch anything. I go, what?
So they can't do any work?
They can't do any work? I go, what kind of rule is that? I go, that's not that. I go, no, they're touching stuff. Yeah. Well, they touch that. I go, trust me, I'm not putting them in danger spots. Like they're taping down cables for me. Hey, grab me one of those extension cords. Hey, wrap up this little stuff. It's not like I'm sending them on rooftops to be killed. You know what I mean? So there's like, it can't work.
Yeah. Well, I mean, how else is someone like that going to become you?
How do you learn?
You know, yeah. So well, it's cool that you're fighting for those people.
Yeah.
It's also good that they have sort of you as an example from like a work ethic standpoint.
Yeah.
And also sort of like fighting to carve out these spots for them, and then they can remember that down the road. There was one thing you said to me, we were talking the day of the shooting here, and it was about how when you first got into, you know, lighting or just the industry that you work in, and you were telling me like, you know, when I first started, you know, I wanted to work all the time. There'd be days where I'd be on 3 shows, you know, and you're like, I did that for as long as I can remember. And I wanted to ask you a little bit about like what it was like to balance, because it sounds to me like you're essentially like, you know, living 3 different lives in one work day.
Yeah.
And
it all shows in like my jean jacket at the time. Like just like you pick your shit up. Like you said, I was working on ER in Buckingham Fountain, driving a golf cart, trailing one of the actors, you know, and I got the camera behind me, and I'm driving the golf cart, and I got the operator behind me, and Eric LaSalle were pulling there. And I finished with those guys at about 4 or 5 in the morning, and I walk across Michigan Avenue there, and I end up at the Hilton, and we're shooting a commercial in the thing, so we start setting up lighting in the lobby for the commercial.
She's overnight like that.
Walk right over and keep working, you know, same thing. And so I've done it before, you know, and you know, I'm a 21-day guy, you know, 21 days straight one time, you know, when I was younger. And some of these guys now, it's not like you need to do that anymore. Mm-hmm. It's better to be shorter hours, more people. You know what I mean? But back in the day, there was not a lot of work in Chicago. So there was a very few of us that, oh, I got to go down to Michigan Avenue and show up at 7 a.m.
Yeah.
That's the gig. I'll be there. You know, the guy, I'd pick up my phone. Thank God I had a pager forever, but now the cell phones is even the best. Yeah. You know, so, but it is that energy, man. I tell you what, I loved making money. Yeah. And that was one of my favorite things it also showed me that if now I'm a leader of my department, I'm frugal in ways that is nice for the company. You know, it's like me, if I could save the company money in electric, they're going to use it in special effects, or they're going to use it in that's my gig. I want to be frugal because I saw what I was talking about earlier is these California guys. Back in the day, I used to bring the California guys here. Yeah. And we used to get a chance to work with them. And I learned a lot of good things from them, but I also learned a lot of bad things from them. And so I always remember California was always like, guys from California did everything big. Like, oh, we need a condo down there. Well, I need 3 of them. You know, it's like,
So you were trying to find ways to be more efficient, frugal.
And that's how Chicago Fire lasted. I mean, I think that's how any of us last. You know what I mean? I try to be frugal as I can because, you know, it's kind of like I've seen the waste that California guys used to do. You know what I mean? It's like, you have a truck full of wood. You know, like, what are you doing? Well, we may have to build something. You know, it's like, the whole truck's got to be filled with wood. So it's like you learn,
No, you're totally right. And I think there's definitely something to be said for spending money at the right times. And you know, obviously you have to invest into things to get an outcome. Yeah. But there's also that fine line of paying close attention to like just getting what you need at the moment so that you can do a good job, not get by, but do a good job. Frugal. So that you can be there next year. Yeah. You know, and I've seen even in the gym industry, you know, people get 20 grand worth of loans or credit cards for equipment. Yeah. Year one. Yeah. You know, and that to me, that's scary. That's real. Oh my God. I'd rather get some shit off Craigslist and build my own stuff or, you know, have one thing for 2 years and maybe I have 4 pieces of equipment.
I know. My wife's like, why don't you get a new phone? I'm like, I'm attracted to this one. You know, it's like, I see people that get their phones. Like my buddy Reza, who's our producer, he gets his phone like it's constant. Like I'm too connected. You know what I mean?
I know a guy like that.
Yeah. So you too? Yeah. Could be. Have you ever been to the Green Mill in Chicago, the bar? It's right next to the Uptown Theater.
I haven't, but I just saw yesterday that they I think the landlord of that building is selling the building, but I think the Green Mill supposedly is going to be okay. Yeah. But I think the building is going up for sale.
It's amazing. So on my mind I've shot in there in my lifetime 50 times. Really? Commercials and movies and things. And it's such a great spot. And I was doing this film called Family Thing, and it's kind of a cool story. Is like, so we scout, you know, we do this thing called scouting. We scout around, blah blah blah. And so the producer, one of the producers, Michael Hausman, he says to me, he says, "Hey Tony, you know, we're going to this green mill." I said, "Yeah, we've been there before. You know, as a child, I worked. And it's great." The movie The Thief is that's in that movie as well. So with James Caan, which is an amazing Chicago movie. I love it. But so we do the scout, and so the producer comes up after we finished the Green Mill scout, and he goes, "Hey, you know, I promised this guy we would change all the bulbs in the marquee outside." I'm like, fuck, there's like 400 of them. You got it. Yeah. You know, I said, "You got it." You know, that's the way it goes. And so me and my guys ordered them, and that producer, Michael Hausman, he would come to set when we're shooting there. He'd get on a ladder with the guys and he'd screw out a bulb. The producer.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was really kind of cool. And so when the guys see that, you know, something with all the ERs, all those guys that came on ER are all superstars, filmmakers, you know what I mean? And so you got to learn from the Chulaks and things like that, the people that came from that world.
Yeah,
but I love that stuff.
I think that's what I felt from you and other people here, was just that sort of like, hey, we're all on the same level. We have an outcome that we have to create, and everyone here.
It's unfortunate Nike took that over, but you know, it's
what's that?
Just do it.
The saying,
do it.
But it was very noticeable. As far as we were talking earlier about the Chicago sort of architecture, and sort of like, you know, my brain was thinking about locations that you guys film at.
Yeah.
So being in Chicago, you know, what kind of obstacles or challenges do you come across, whether it's filming indoors or outdoors? And then are there ever any good things that come from the obstacles or challenges that you would have never thought about putting together that way, good or bad? Because I thought about, like, sometimes you got to show up in these very inconvenient locations, or maybe you're in a corner of a building, but you know, you have no sun.
We had like gunfire one time on set, you know.
Really?
I've been on the set 3 or 4 times with gunfire. It just happens.
Wow.
Yeah. You know, they're at a
crazy.
cool, like, funeral home. They're like, just like you're saying, you know, it's like, those things are so, like, places are iconic for sure, but you know, we're at Austin and you know, Madison, and you know, and there's some trouble there, you know. It's like all of a sudden you see, you know, someone unload a gun in not the direction of the film,
of course,
you know, Chicago Fire, but you see them shooting at, you know, other people, and the people running and things, and you know, I just, you know, I just come out of my tent and I want to be conscious that I have my eye on the gunman at all times, you know what I mean? And I'm like, so it's at those points, but man, it's amazing, though, the spots that we get to, you know. And sometimes I pinch myself. I was doing a movie called Return to Me with David Duchovny and Minnie Driver. I don't know if you remember the movie that his girlfriend or his wife loses her heart. And or loses her life, and they take her heart and put it in another woman, and they fall in love. But that movie, you know,
I have not seen it. That sounds really
Return to Me. Duchovny and Minnie Driver. Bonnie Hunt directed a Chicago staple. She's a wonderful director.
Gotcha.
I was born and raised in the Midwest, and one of my favorites. And but it's that you know, it's those moments like that. You know, it's like that's another person that, you know, you have to like look back at, like Second City too, and you see all these you know, people like evolving from that. But I got to say, you know, being on location like that, moving around, and like you said, like gunfire is unfortunate, but you know, I'm on a set, Stranger Than Fiction, and I did that movie, you know, and that whole movie was, I saw the signs, more cowbell, you know, we're moving around with Will Ferrell, you know what I mean? So those iconic moments are great, you know. And, you know, we were out there, and one of the actors is what's his name, Pacino. He's walking down the street, whatever, and he's coming back from lunch or something, and this woman's walking down the street with a pizza, right, and he scoops the pizza up and walks the other direction. She's like, "Hey, what the fuck?" Oh, you know, that's him. It was the precious moments. Those are the moments that that you're kind of talking about, like iconic moments. You know what I mean? Like, I look across at these buildings, I see the signs, more cowbell, you know, and I know we're in the building, you know. And the movie The Fugitive I did, and Chain Reaction I did, and a lot of those movies. But you know, it was kind of cool. And I did a movie that I did that I'm super proud of because it became a cult, Under Siege. I went to Alabama and did that movie with my gaffer, and he got to bring a couple of us from Chicago there, and I spent my summer on a battleship, and it was awesome.
That's
crazy. And submarine and whatnot, but those iconic moments, like, in the movie when they pull the sub up close to the battleship and they're loading stuff. And so we wrapped that end of the night and they had this cargo net. So I said all to my electricians, I said, let's have a race. And we all get down on the submarine and we jump onto the net. We race and see who can get up the top. So there's like 10 of us, right? So we get on this thing. We're all, it's just after a night of work and let's go. And we jump on this net and we pull the sub and it smashes us into the side of the battleship and everybody's tools fall into the fucking water. It's like scamper. And I'm like, we had so much fun on being on a battleship. I'm kind of a kid, but those are iconic
I was
moments.
Say, it's kind of funny, being a Midwestern, boy, you get into movies, through watching movies with your mom and you end up on a battleship.
Yeah. They used to sit me on top of a taxi cab too. So we were doing this movie, Prelude to a Kiss, and that was with Alec Baldwin and Meg Ryan. And that's a famous stage play where her soul goes into this old man's soul and they change positions because they both want to change. She goes, I wish I didn't have anything to worry about. I wish I was young again. And they change positions. And so Alec Baldwin has to prove this, but it was a fabulous movie. And so we did all this stuff driving in a cab and I would be on the top of the cab spinning this light around, so a light goes across Alec Baldwin's face, and, being able to go to Jamaica and stuff like that, like super iconic stuff.
I don't realize like the scenes that you actually see, what goes into the scene, because thinking about you spinning a light on a moving car in order to create a light.
They would never do it again. They wouldn't let you do it anymore. We do it now with these control devices. Everything is everything is Wi-Fi now.
Safe for humans.
No, it's totally crazy. And I'd wrap the cord around the stand that's spinning, because you didn't have battery powered lights back then.
Oh, so you kind of use the cord.
I had to spin it, pre-spin it every take, but those are iconic moments for sure.
And so you worked on The Dark Knight as well, right?
Yeah.
What was that like filming wise? Because a lot of those Batman movies, they're so dark and they're gothic looking. And I just was curious.
You see the way the city looked too. Incredible.
Yeah.
I did so much work. Both of them. When they first came in town, they came for like 20 days, right?
Yeah.
So the people, the California guys, of course, they're looking for somebody to run their gang, and I'm like, I got the job.
Yeah.
I worked with the director of photography when he was a camera operator on a Sandra Bullock movie.
Oh, so you guys had a little bit of history.
Wally Pfister is his name. Is wonderful, fun camera operator, but he turned into this giant DP. So he comes to town. He's like, "Oh, I'm Tony," and it's so he got me and all my gang, and I had like 30 dudes, electricians on my crew, and tell you what, it was quite the eye opener because the size and the mass of it all. It's like when you're driving, when you're driving cars, and the first one was a lot of driving stuff, and then the second one it was even more with the truck and whatnot, and the flip, and those are the biggest downtown locations. But so what we do is we'd pre-rig, and then on the weekends we'd shoot all we could. You know what I mean? And
because of the traffic,
because of the way the traffic. I mean, that's the financial district. So and basically, so when it got daytime, we'd take all the gear away. They'd live. We'd come back. So we did that for 3-4 weeks straight for The Dark Knight and different rooftops. I had guys in hotel rooms that were manning lights that shot that rooftop where the Batmobile goes off. It's like incredible. And then the way that switches back to miniatures in the movie is
rooftop
cool.
Again, real quick.
Where the Batmobile is on the roof. He's on the roof. He's on the roof. Yeah. That's one of the stuntmen. They shot one of the stuntmen saying that into the radio, but he's up high. And so all those high spots, you had to get backlighting on this, Batmobile. So we would pick out rooftops and stuff like that, but also a lot
from a different building.
So we would be in these, hotel rooms with a bunch of par cans, 1K par cans, shooting through windows so we could backlight that. Vehicle was so dark, but it was on a mass scale. And then we had mobile lights, which were these big BB light cranes.
Yeah.
And I had 2 of them. So we would say, okay, this is the shot. Well, then the gaffer and the DP would say, well, why don't we put one there and put one there? Okay, Tony, you and your guys. All right.
Yeah.
A couple pickup trucks. Follow me, boys. We take the things out there, get them set up. So one time we scrape the merchandise mart on Dark Knight, you know,
Yeah.
the merchandise mart,
Yep.
right? All of a sudden the fucking police come out of everything, because they're coming from everywhere. I'm like, they were like, "Hey, what are you doing? Turn that light off." And he's like,
Because the light was on the merch mart.
yeah, and they
Oh.
weren't told about it. You know what I mean? And
Oh.
and they have their own lighting, the merchandise mart.
Oh, I see.
So what was
I
happening
see.
was
So it's kind of like a brand issue or something.
Dude,
like they're like,
they have
don't
their
want-
own police department there,
Yeah,
and
they
those
do,
guys are in
yeah.
our face. Next thing you know, it's the FBI shows up, and you know what I'm saying? Like, that's a very important building,
Yeah.
and they have a lot of pull. Sure enough, you know, it's just panning one light over. I'm like, it's
Yeah.
cool, we got it. Let's take that light off the building.
I have
But
a
yeah.
very close friend, Jeff, who was a head of security for Merch Mart.
Oh, really?
4
Well,
years.
you know it.
And I got a lot of just crazy stories, and I had no idea that essentially it's its own neighborhood.
It
or
is.
It's its own
It is.
sort of zip code.
It is absolutely one of the biggest footprints of a building in the United States.
Yeah.
I believe, you know, but I mean, I think it is. And
Yeah, it is.
most footage or something like
Yep,
that.
yep.
You know, what's interesting about that place too is like, just be shooting around there. And then, you know, we were, all that lower whacker stuff.
Mhm.
Incredible. The armored car, the
Yeah.
chasing the Batmobile. And then we did Amsterdam Highway up north, the highway
Yeah.
that they closed down up there in Waukegan. But, if you look at the movie, we put up those lights that are right in the side of the Batmobile when he's going by.
Yeah.
There were 100-watt bulbs and a practical that the art department picked, and
Yeah.
we wired them all the way down. So I had a total of
like lower whacker.
lower whacker.
And how far was the
It's all the way front to end. I mean,
because I go down there and drive my car late
Yeah.
at night sometimes, you
Yeah.
know, and that is a long.
we put them on. I had like 65 little bitty generators running that whole run, and then I had big generators like at every other one, just in case like
That is
we
insane.
needed to do some more lighting and stuff. But so getting all the Jennies out every night, and then keeping them gassed up.
This
every
is going
night.
on for weeks.
This
too.
is going on for a couple of weeks. Yeah, down there we were at least 2 weeks. You know, that thing blowing up and hitting the ceiling, the armored car.
Yeah.
Incredible. And I remember we were behind when we flipped that truck. You know,
yeah.
he flips the Joker, and those moments are I'm behind a pole because there's so many cameras.
Yeah.
And times, like you say, iconic. Like there's a picture on the internet of Heath Ledger laying on the floor, and we're all running around doing lighting. He's smoking a cigarette in his, he's in his outfit.
Full outfit.
I'm ready,
Yeah.
director, and he just sat there, looked straight up, and just smoking a cigarette. He was the coolest cucumber
Yeah.
in the room all the time. Like, I love, because sometimes with actors, I try to keep myself in this distance of them.
Yeah.
Because I believe that they're at work. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
try
So you
not
don't
to,
wanna
unless they want to
interrupt
engage.
that.
But
Yeah.
with him, it's like he was just in his own little world. And you could see the boy. He struggled because these are big parts, but
Of course.
what a performance!
Yeah.
I mean, I still to this day, it's like. I think back, and sometimes I'll tell something to somebody, a life lesson, and then I'll say, "Look at that!" It's like this came from the Untouchables.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
when he beats the guy in the head with a bat,
Yeah.
all the way up until he hits the guy with the bat, all usable information.
Yeah.
Part of a team. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like right before he beats his head. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? So there's things like that, and then also, it's like I feel like in the Joker too, he talks about I chase cars, I don't know what to do with them, and I catch them,
Yeah.
I mean, it's I have a connection with that character a little bit, because I feel like I'm the same way, it's like
the Joker character.
it's like that energy.
I think everyone kind of does have
Yeah.
some relation to that character because
he's truthful.
Yeah, I was gonna say that character is honest.
Yeah.
And it's almost like all of your stresses and anxieties and problems, like that character is kind of what you want to do sometimes in the sense of lashing out. You know, like not that like you and I want to do that kind of stuff, but you sometimes it sucks being nice and responsible and doing the right thing, and so there is that kind of like it's almost a Tourette's.
It's dark, but it's also very clear.
Yeah. And I also like how they've kind of made that character borderline.
Now it's just so dark.
Yeah,
so dark.
And
crazy.
it's dark, but also it gives you this weird sympathy.
Yeah.
And his characters become even worse over time, but now you sort of almost feel bad for him or can relate to it even more. So it's funny how they really twisted your because I watched those movies as like from like a kid all the way to an adult, you know, and sort of you have too, and I just never saw that coming when I was younger. He's always like the evil, like
writers.
the ant.
It's the writers. Honest to God, I did a David Goyer. All the Blade series, and he was a Batman writer. And he was a Dark Knight writer, you know, for Christopher Nolan. And I got to do a movie that he directed called The Unborn. And it's like I look at this guy, I'm like, it's so dark, man. Like, it's fucking great. How do you do that shit? He goes, I lock myself in my fucking house for fucking a month and a half, 2 months, and I try to get these things because even the Blade series, it's so dark. But that Goyer, he's wonderful. I enjoyed working with David Goyer, and it's kind of funny. It's like and something I want to that I learned in the film business also is that be like water, you know. And I sometimes I say that that Bruce Lee has the saying that he from the his TV show that he was on, but some writer wrote that, be like water. It's from a writer in the that was doing this TV show. And so I always tell my guys, chameleon, be whatever this business. If they have you do this, then you just go do that.
Don't get caught up in what you think things should be like.
I was on the Dark Knight, and I come there, and it's a pretty big operation. Special effects is from Europe. Everybody's moving. We're just a little cog in this wheel. It's 17 or 20 days. And I'm sitting at this desk in an office building, and I'm doing my notes, and we just came back from a scout or whatnot. All of a sudden, this dude comes up to me and goes, "Hey, give me a taxi." You got it. I fucking pick up the phone. I get him a taxi. Okay, sir, your taxi's ready. He gets in the taxi, he leaves. So about 3-4 days come by. We have a production meeting. I sit in this giant room filled with people. And there's the fucking guy. He's the producer, Larry Franco.
Oh, he's the one that got you.
He's the one that asked for a taxi. And so we have to stand up in this meeting and introduce ourselves. So I stand up. I'm Tony. I'm Chicago Electric Department. And I sit back down, and I see him. He's like, so after the meeting, he comes up and he goes, "What the fuck, kid?" I go, "What?" I go, "You wanted a taxi." We became best friends. And,
did he think?
And the second one, I was on that film.
Who did you think that you were? Like when he asked?
Just one of the PAs, some guy in the office, some schmuck that's they have so many of them. He's a huge producer, but it's a funny story. I always like sharing. Those those are awesome moments, you know what I mean? Like times like that are in my lifetime were just incredible. And like I said, I worked on all the rest
you were
of
like, I'm not getting you you were like, yeah, sure. I
had a phone in front of me. I called up some
Speaking of the, we were talking about all the equipment. And then backlighting, the car off the roof and, the merch mart and all that. Have you I know the answer is probably yes, but what kind of things have you noticed change-wise in technology from when you first started doing this work in the 90s all the way up to 2025? And especially more recently, has there been any shift in technology with all of the advances that, is like all these keywords right now, like AI and ChatGPT and all these things? So what kind of differences have you noticed from the beginning to now? And then also what kind of things are happening now that are, that stand out to you? Because I'm noticing differences. I never thought that I'd be thinking about how I use technology for my job. Like I run a gym and I train people and I train athletes. I never thought that I would be using ChatGPT or that I'd think about AI. I had a meeting with a guy yesterday. We're going to start putting some media in the gym. And we're going to be using, Raspberry Pi. We're going to be using all these little widgets for this media in the gym. And I was kind of laughing afterwards, like, I can't believe we're having this meeting about this shit. And so have you had anything similar happen to you recently or in the past? And how has it been being in the industry that long? Like, have you had to really work hard to go with it rather than to fight it? Because I know sometimes you get used to shit.
You'll be left behind if you fight it. That's what I've learned early. I did the first kind of like, digitally movies. Really, the cameras are what's changed. Honest to God, I feel like lighting or whatever, everything's Wi-Fi, battery out, that's all. But the cameras are so sensitive and so awesome now. You know what I mean? And so I did a movie called The Company. And Robert Altman was the director who did all the mashes, and that was his baby. He's an old timer, you know what I mean? Like, this guy smokes weed on the set. Nobody fucks with him. Christopher Lloyd's another one. He smoked weed on the set of Dennis the Menace. Nobody fucks with
like, hey, man.
Fuck you. You know what I mean? Like, plus he had glaucoma or something. Whatever. That was the story. I just say nothing. But sure enough, it's like it was the first kind of digital movie that, the camera had this cable that went into this little, its little hard drive that sucked in all the information. How crazy. And then, so if they did a moving shot, that thing would have to go with the dolly, or a guy would have to carry it with the Steadicam.
What do you mean it sucks in all the information?
Well, all that information that lens is taking in gets transferred to some type of memory system. And that was at the beginning, was this little like suitcase thing.
I see.
Now it goes into a little piece of gum, I call it. It's like a stick of gum. It goes in the camera. Just like that. Where's that going? That's going there.
It's almost like a USB.
It's just like, it gets all the information. And sometimes on commercials, you have the editing department right with you. Like right now, the editing, we could do it right on the screen if we wanted to. We don't. We let the Wolfgang do it.
Yeah.
But it's easy. And the technology is amazing. Like like I said, the Bear, they do some of their coloring right on the set. I know the guys that run it. You know what I mean? Yeah, they're doing all that stuff. I did a movie called Amityville. The Amityville Horror with Ryan Reynolds.
Yep.
Another film, it's like the guy was editing the movie right there, and the director, he's standing there. He goes, "What are these people doing?" It's like I go, "They're going to take your movie away. Watch," and they did. They changed his movie, because it's always because.
But he didn't realize.
Well, he knew that he hired him to direct the thing. It's like
I gotcha.
Yeah, and
they wanted to put their twist on it.
Yeah,
that's crazy. So. Basically,
the change has got to be the camera. I mean, everything now, lighting is crazy. Like when we could come in here, so we put that light in here, or whatever, it was 4,000 watts.
Yeah.
And I had another light in here that was equivalent to it that ran off of 1,800 watts, and so that's the difference, so like I have lights that are, 18,000 watts and 20,000 watts. And now those lights, I'm putting scrims in because they're so bright, and the cameras are so sensitive now.
This scrim basically
takes away a little bit. Yeah,
okay,
it takes it away. And so same thing, but now with these LED lights and stuff, you just turn the dimmer down. You saw my guy here. He's got a little pad and he's walking around.
Yeah, I was wondering at first what that pad was.
Yeah.
And then, me and Katie were lucky enough to kind of, you guys let us to sort of like be in the background with the crew.
Oh, yeah.
And we started piecing things together a little bit, because after you're there for a couple hours, you start to see like, okay, that did that. And even like the camera, we felt so lucky, and we were so excited to be behind it was the director, right?
Yeah.
And it was also funny seeing the director like in front of our deadlift platform.
Yeah.
With all this like gym equipment.
That was Lisa Robinson, right? Yeah. It was Lisa. Yeah.
And
she's wonderful too. Yeah.
Yeah. And there was another guy who had like a safari.
Will did DP. He's also a director too. Yeah.
What's funny about him is that he came up to us several times and was like, "Do you guys need anything?" And I was like, "What do you mean? Do we need anything? Do you need anything?"
He's a really good guy.
And I just thought it was pretty cool that, like he didn't have to be like that. So
Will's
it
a
really kind of
wonderful human for
changes
sure.
your viewpoint on sort of like the film industry. But the camera we were watching from his station, and it looked pretty nice, from the screen.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, that's like a very good clarity and like really nice angle or whatever. And then when we actually watched it on television, we could not believe
how bright they made it.
Yeah, it was so bright and like the detail, and it almost looked like you're actually just watching it with your own eyes.
Wow.
And that was my first experience seeing something being filmed on a screen.
Yeah.
And then watching it on a screen later that was like the final product.
Yeah.
Usually I always see the final product.
Yeah.
And you probably see that pretty regularly.
Yeah, we have this thing called the PICS project that we have to go and look at our project. So last year I got 5 episodes, the director of photography to film. So I got to shoot stuff last year, and I've been shooting stuff now since 2018. But it's like I can't believe what they do sometimes.
Yeah.
Because I feel like they don't know what monitor people are watching on or old television. Like they don't think everyone has a new television.
That's
Let's
true.
crank it up and make it brighter.
That's true.
I try so hard, and Will does too, try to leave it dark, and I try to, like now, a lot of times I'll try to saturate colors just because I feel like TV could be there. You know what I mean? Like I always say something to the guys. I'm like, you don't need to see Severide walk from here to there. You see him in the front. You see them at the end of the scene. What do you care? Let them be dark for a minute. That's real life.
Yeah.
You know, like my guys
That's
from my crew, the crew that comes before me, the rigging crew.
Yeah.
Like, we got to change all these bulbs out to the same color. I go, who are you? Random. The real life is random. And I learned that from a DP, Lisa Wiegand. You know, it's just be random, but who cares? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You walk in the real firehouse. That one's got guck on it. That one's shitty color. This one's blue. It's like, it's real life.
You know what's funny about that is that we have probably had like 3 different companies coming over the years, and maybe even a representative for ComEd coming over the years.
Yeah.
And talk to us about, you know, getting your lighting to be more consistent or switching it over to LED, which I understand like the benefit to LED or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm not
you had flows, just normal flows in there, 8 footers. Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, there's different ballasts in there. And, you know, one in the back corner is an LED because that was the cheapest route to go at the time.
Absolutely.
You know, and so like the variation of even the lighting in the gym, on one hand, you could look at it and be like, well, that doesn't look right.
Yeah.
But the thing is that like the way this place actually looks, it looks cool because there's different elements from those lights in every corner. Like one bench is actually a little dark because it doesn't have a light right above it.
Yeah.
And initially I was like, man, we're gonna have to get a light.
Yeah.
And after time, I'm like, no, that's cool.
You know, and I think the thing that you need to think about is you need to think about your LED systems only because the 8-foot flows, you're talking 45 watts or 55 watts a bulb. That, you know, so it's dragging some power from you.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
The money
the money is part of it, and then also the stress that it has on the electric. You know what I mean? You could be, and it's easy enough. You know, sometimes they make them where you don't even have to change anything out. You could use the ballast. There's certain types of bulbs, but
that's cool.
You know, like my house is all LED, but I have a few choice tungsten ones here and there, all the wattage, but my drain is all 0 compared to what it used to be.
Yeah.
You know, you put 60 watt bulbs.
I'm sure our
in
drain
house.
is massive.
It's massive. I got an electric car now and I got air conditioning to run. And so I'm like, you know, electric is, it's fickle because you don't know it's there.
Yeah.
You know?
So you mentioned director of photography.
Yeah.
Is that different than gaff?
It is indeed.
So, and I saw that when I was just looking, you know, on Google, I was reading about you and I saw that. And so what is the difference, as far as like, is that work that you're doing for Chicago Fire or is that a separate thing?
No, what I'll do
is are they intertwined?
They are intertwined.
Okay.
And because, I sit next to the DP all day,
okay.
Will, and I'm the gaffer.
Okay.
What they started to do a couple of years ago, sometimes the DP can't do everyone because they get tired. There's a lot of work because the DP is more kind of not in charge. I hate to use, I'm in charge of all the departments. I certainly am not. I have to focus on what the cameras see and make sure we get all the coverage for those directors. Because if they're talking, they want 3 sizes, you know, wide, tighter, and tighter. You know what I mean? And so those things, directors of photography, those are the things you do. But myself, I was brought up by some of the best directors of photography being a gaffer. So the gaffer is the main guy and he's the electric guy and he does all the lighting portions. So like with myself, the DPs I worked for in my life, then they were always like, Tony, this, that, try this, try that, try that. And so I took all those notes and I made them my own. And how I do things now is the same way that I learned from some of the best DPs. You know,
stupid question, but is the gaff work or the lighting is obviously the lighting for the shot. Being a director of photography, are you managing the angle of the shot? And how it presents
movement of the shot,
the movement. Okay, so
and
it's
then
not
also the
just
grip side, which the Ed Titus side and the Adam Hirsch side. The grip side is huge.
Tell me a little bit about that because you know, Ed, you know, has been a close friend of mine for a long time, but as I'm sure you're probably not surprised to hear, you know, Ed and I don't see each other.
Of course.
And we're very close friends. I love the guy to death. My mom,
you're old now. It doesn't matter. That's what happens.
That's true.
You see him less and less.
My mom nicknamed Ed, the Angel because he,
really?
Like, I wouldn't say saved my life, but he was there for me when I got really, really sick right when I went to Chicago.
Oh, really?
And took me to Cook County Hospital.
Oh, wow.
Stayed the night in Cook County Hospital. Like
appendix or something?
It was some flu that, you know how like occasionally there'll be a flu that can just take someone out?
Sure.
That I almost
and it could kill them. You don't read about it.
Yeah, I almost had that.
Oh, no shit.
And you know, the people I knew here were out of town.
Yeah.
And I just met Ed like the week before. And I called him and was like, hey, dude, Can you take me to the fucking hospital?
Yeah,
I don't
right.
know what's going on, man. He showed up at my house 15 minutes later.
Yeah, those are
Because
the
he's
good
just
ones.
that kind of guy.
Yeah.
But tell me a little bit about like the kind of work that he does, and then how it works in a system with what you do from the lighting or photography standpoint. Because I don't know a lot about
the gaffers
what he does
and
exactly.
The key grip are equals. So we both work for the director of photography, who's in, like you said, responsible for the movement of the camera, for the lighting, for pretty much everything, the clothes and stuff. He's got wardrobe in his pocket. He's got set dressing, property. Got to make sure you got all the parts for those things. So the saying gaffer comes from a stick with a hook on it that they fish with, a gaff, it's called. And back in the day, they called the main electrician a gaffer because of that stick. Because back in the day, they didn't have insulation on the cables, and they would drag it with this wooden stick with a hook on it, and it became the head guy, the gaffer.
Why would they drag it with a stick?
Because they would be electrocuted if they touched it. So back in the day, they didn't have insulation on cables.
Oh, so it was just like a bare...
It's like a hook with a wooden hook, and it's called a gaffer. And that became the head guy's name. And then later on, California changed it to chief lighting technician and stuff like that. So they made that thing. But it's always been gaffer, and that's the head electric guy. And he's in charge of the lighting and or how the lights get brought out and produced. But the DP tells you kind of, and he helps you along. And then the key grip is everything that's not electric. That's the softening, that's the cutting of the lights, shaping them, and the camera.
So they're really involved in the lighting. I didn't realize that.
Super involved. And key grip for me, that's my best friend on the set, and so Ed was my best friend. And when Ed was with us, same thing. I always say to my key grips, Cortland Boyd and Mike Lewis, and I've had a bunch of them, Kelly Borsi in my lifetime. I had a bunch of key grips that worked with me, and they're always like this extension of me. I believe it's to be equals, you know what I mean? Like, I came up in a time where the gaffer thought he was the bee's knees, like he's above the key grip and stuff. And at the time, the key grips they wanted to work, so they were nice to let the gaffer do his thing. But now a DP will pick himself a gaffer and pick himself a key grip. He might ask the gaffer who he likes for a key grip, but it's his choice, And so back in the day,
take their influence.
There was not a lot of Chicago guys. So the guy would be like, the key grip would be, he wanted to work. So he's always nice to the gaffer, oh, yes, sir. It's like, now it's like, just, that's is not like that anymore. We're equals.
From the outsider too, I don't know anything about your guys' business at all, but it sounds to me like the grip and the gaffer are sort of the blue collar side of the film work. And so like, it makes sense that you guys would have
touch things.
Like you're very physical, and there's that sort of like the brute end of the work, but then there's also the intelligent side of, you have to be sharp enough to know what you're doing and what the outcome
computers
is.
And shit for lights now. You see that stuff. It's incredible.
Yeah, Ed is a great guy. And so how Ed and I know each other is through music. And so, hardcore shows, metal shows, things like that. And we just happen to have some of the same acquaintances. And that's how I met
him. Hoping he would be here.
I know, I should actually.
I sent him a text. I go, you can be there?
You know what I'll do is we'll do this again.
Sure.
We'll have Ed on.
I'd love to.
We'll get the grip. We'll get the grip side of it all.
Yeah, absolutely.
But man, he is such an incredible guy. And it's interesting because Ed works so much, just like you do, that he is not really here a lot. But Ed works out here occasionally when he has time. He also does jujitsu. And there's a kickboxing academy back here.
It's also he's a union higher up.
I didn't know that until you guys came here.
No, we love him, and he has this following because he is a quality guy. The following that Ed has is because he is who he is.
I think that trust that I have with him as a friend. I could see that trust being there with everyone that interacts with him. In life, but especially in what you guys do. But he, even though he works whatever 80, 100-hour weeks or whatever, there's been numerous times that he's come here.
Over there, by the way. That he's working on Dark Matter.
He's told me about that, and man, it sounds intense.
Wow. And spending a lot of money on it, and it's in a new studio here up on Pulaski there, and so
that's a hot show right now, I think, right? People seem like they're really into it.
They really want it, you know what I mean? So they're spending a lot of money on it, but I mean, they brought in a DP, Then he brought in a gaffer.
Yeah.
But the DP is like, Ed's my guy.
Yeah.
So as long as that gaffer understands that, which is his California gaffer came in, because, I get this calls from the coast all the time, and I don't think we touched on that as that much, but we were talking about it. But that the way that the business is changing, is gigantic.
How is it changing?
Well, it's changing because the streaming systems, you know what I mean? Like, people want to be paid for the streaming systems. The writers want to be paid for streaming. The actors want to be paid for streaming system. Everybody should be getting paid. But then you have a project that can't exist because everyone wants to get paid.
It's too much. It's too much. It's too much outflow of money.
Yeah, and I think network television is on its last legs. One Chicago, and there's a bunch of shows. I mean, it's not on its last legs. It's slower than it used to be.
It's hurting a little bit, yeah.
We have our 7 million people that watch us, and then they'll watch us on Peacock, and like you said, Europe and stuff like that.
Yep.
And, I was in an episode of Chicago Fire. I get a little residual check every kind of couple months.
You were in an episode?
I was in an episode.
I didn't realize that.
Yep. Episode 817, To Protect the Child. I was a drunken, naked guy. Well, I was dancing around at one of our Christmas parties.
Yeah.
And I say one of our Christmas parties, one Chicago Christmas parties.
You didn't realize that you were auditioning.
Well, everybody's there. And not only everybody, we had it at the museum.
Yeah.
Not a Science and Industry, the other museum there. So we had this gigantic One Chicago party. Well, Roots is playing for us at the One Chicago party.
Yeah.
So there's
Roots?
Yeah. The band, and they are amazing.
That's awesome.
That's just Wolf people. And there's people on stilts and women hanging from ribbons. And it's like, we were in the, so it was really a fun thing. And so I was prancing around the dance floor, and the creator saw me, Derek Haas. He's like, "Hey, you want to play this part?" And I'm like, "I want $1,000 in my hand." He goes, "Okay, we'll pay you." I go, "Okay, 1,000. I want $1,000." And so they come to me, and so the director resident, he's like, "You really going to do it?" I go, "I'm going to do it. I just said 1,000." He goes, "Well, we're going to pay you, okay?" And then he comes to me and he says, "Well, you're going to be in this bikini that looks like skin, so you're behind this glass where they won't see your privates, but you'll be dancing around." Yeah. And then they bring me these moon boots to put on, and I'm like, I quit. I fucking quit right now. I go, I am wearing my Jordans. I wore my Jordans.
Hell yeah.
Reza goes, don't fight him. Let him wear what he wants to wear.
The Jordans sound like a better move anyway.
Oh my God, my black Jordans. I ran up and down the street like 30 times, and these cops chased me in the scene. And so both of these boys are heavy set, and they're not as athletic as me. Yeah. But I have a shape, and I'm still athletic, but I ran down that street, and all of a sudden, we were on like take number 30 or whatever, and doing the wide shots, the tighter stuff, and then all of a sudden I hear this ruckus behind me. One of the coppers hits the deck, like he just
smoked.
He couldn't handle it anymore. Just his legs failed him. He rolled up on the ground, and sitting there like, cut. And I come back. I'm like, "Yeah, okay." He goes, "Please, we can't do this anymore." Yeah. He was wrung out, but it was a fun time for me. But the residual checks are, it's interesting the way that stuff comes out. But I'll tell you what. It's been an experience for sure. Chicago Fire, and like you were saying too, is that a lot of times like you don't realize what you have, and you have to step back and kind of maybe just take a check. It's like an inventory. It's like, wait a minute, we're doing some really fucking cool shit here. So we're on the. And like every time I come to the city, it's changed. You know what I mean? Like the architecture, like we're along the river now, and the way that they have Lakeshore or Lower Wacker all sealed off, because back in the day, people would get hit on Lower Wacker because you can walk down there, and now it's all developed. You can walk down both sides of the river now. Before you couldn't. It just wasn't clean, and it was dirty, and we shot down there back in the day. It's like a lot of stuff. Like Trump Tower is on a spot that the Sun-Times building used to sit on. We used to put lights on top of the Sun-Times building, light scenes that were on Michigan Avenue all the time. And, you drive down in the city now, it's just changed so much. Even around here, I can't believe this corner. That corner has changed. Like, it's like, it's awesome like it is now. It sucked before.
It was. Even when the gym was first here, we kind of were at the tail end of it sucking, from what I understand. Because we know a lot of the neighbors at this point. We lived here for 40 years and things like that. And they tell us crazy stories. And I mean, there's even been moments of us being here where I think we moved in here from the other spot, 2015. Oh, okay. So the first 3 years was like a little bit of that. Yeah. We got a taste. It was getting fixed, right? Yeah. It was right. Yeah. Because I know that Vienna place, like we had done a movie called Novocaine, that Steve Martin movie. We did right behind there. There was an office and a
like a factory building that had office space. So we had the production office and our stages there. And so we did a movie. We were right there, actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the way they used to do it. There was no stages in Chicago. There was maybe one.
You would just
or
set
two.
one up.
Yeah, Studio City had stages, and then everything else was warehouses, and then you could do whatever you want in them,
Yeah, and earlier we were talking about just like some of the hours, that you guys work.
Yeah.
Two things. One, do you ever get used to those hours?
Yeah.
How have you managed that over time?
Your
doing
body
this job?
gets used to them. Sure.
Does it? It just kind of like acclimates at some point, gets a
it's
callus.
Same thing with
to
the
it.
night work too. You got to be, if you're working at 6 p.m. at night, you better be sleeping.
Yeah.
In the daytime.
Yeah.
So you have to have a dark room, and you have to be able to sleep. You have to be able to shut down the world.
I would imagine having a family too. It's not like when you're off work that everything just shuts off. Like you get off work, I'm assuming whatever weird shift that you work, and then your whole life is waiting for you. And if you're dad or husband or whatever,
so bad.
You don't have a choice, right?
You don't. I was doing a TV show called Cupid with Jeremy Piven. It was on a long time ago, and my child was just a newborn.
Yeah.
And so, my wife at the time, it's like I get home from 15 hours of work, and she'd hand me the baby and my child, and I'd sit there. To this day, I still rock because of it. You know what I mean?
You're just so accustomed.
Oh my God. Yeah. She'd just hand me the baby, and then I'd have the baby until she went to bed, and then I got some sleep, and then got up the next day. But yeah, I remember, it's not easy.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah. But now I have dogs, and a wife. So, I mean, she takes care of, most of the hard stuff. So,
and as far as your own personal things outside of work, I'd imagine in the beginning it was probably hard to have a lot of time for your own shit outside of work.
True.
Is that something you've gotten better at over time?
Absolutely.
And then are there other things that
golf
you're,
and
that you're into,
like shooting guns?
Totally different.
I love it.
I didn't realize that you like to shoot. That's
I do. I call myself a hybrid. I'm super liberal, but I also possess weapons from when I was a youth. What I mean? I loved guns.
We were out to dinner last night. And a part of dinner, especially because right now there's so much going on at all times. So a part of dinner briefly turned into just, talk about politics, like for 4 minutes. And I curbed it really hard, because at some point, and it wasn't even a debate. It was just sort of talking about what's going on. And I was like, I don't want to do that either. We all kind of accidentally got caught up in it,
Sours the mood, doesn't it?
Yeah. And so we kind of curbed it. But before we curbed it off, I just kind of made the joke, and I was like, well, no one really wants me in their crew on either side of the aisle, because I'm going to disappoint someone in one direction or the other. And just to your joke about being a pretty liberal dude, but I like to have weaponry on me. I like to efficiently use that weaponry.
Yeah.
And that was kind of my point last night about no one wants me in their crew. I'm down with everything, but
You've heard the saying fight or flight.
Yeah.
I'd use it quite a bit when it comes to politics. Like I really just, if you betray to me that you don't believe in what I believe in, I kind of shut you down. I mean, I know it's selfish and everything, but I'm at a point in my life where I'm like, I really don't have to apologize to anybody how I feel about, minority and anything like that. It's like stuff like that. It's like my mom was colorblind, and my mom raised me right. What I mean? I was mama's boy for sure. My father died when I was young, but, I always remember my mom, she would say some pretty, heavy is the head that wears the crown, she'd say to me when I would complain about my job. She's like, you want to be the boss, this is what happens. I'm like, I'm not sleeping at night, Mom. That engine might not start on that lift.
Yep.
What do you care? She'd go, get another one. Lilies of the field, my mom would say all the time.
What's funny is that the other day, one of our members, Taylor, she came up to me and she said, hey, Lawrence, something's wrong with the front door. And it was the keypad that you mentioned, right? that we were joking around about when you first got here. And I went out there and checked it, and it was just something really minor. The door clipped it, and somehow it got out of position.
Right.
So anyways, at one point, I was helping my dad, and I think when I was old enough to understand what my dad was going to say to me, my dad said this as we were driving away from the guy's property. And I think I might have asked my dad why the mayor always had a guy with him, because that was my first, experience of, seeing a guy live with another guy, right?
Yeah.
And I think I'd asked my dad, I was like, who is that guy? And why is he always there?
Yeah.
So my dad explained to me that was his boyfriend, right?
Interesting.
So as we were driving away, my dad said to me, he goes, the mayor, he's a really good guy, and he's nice to me, and he wasn't like, it's okay.
Yeah.
He was just saying I respect him. He's my boss. He's my friend. He's always been there for me.
Yeah.
And that's what he chooses to do. And it was really nice that he said that because he didn't realize what he was planting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
So like later in life, like a lot of those outlooks were already there. Because you have you know, you have a best friend who might, you know, say the wrong shit and then kind of mean it sometimes, you know, and so he really like diffused a lot of that shit for me growing up, which is really nice. So we got to be thankful for having parents like that.
And that's the first time you realized that, right? I mean, you realized
I was probably I don't know, 8, 9 years old, you know.
I have mine too. My parents took me and my wife now, who's my friend in high school, took me and these two girls, my friend Lisa and Nikki, who now is my wife, which is a whole nother story, but took me to an Adam Ant concert, and I saw two women kiss there. And it's the first time, and I was from rural, you know, Addison, Illinois. I never saw that.
I grew up rural too, so
and I kind of, but as a young kid, you know, like gay was something hard to handle. You know what I mean? It wasn't, you as a child, if you were gay, you just didn't jump out in the open.
No,
you know what I mean?
No, that wasn't even
a lot of guys
option.
struggled when I was in school. I remember it. And you know, my mom would always say to me, "It's like, just let them be." You know what I mean? Like they're figuring it out still. They're children. They're gonna figure out. You know, and most of the guys that were gay in when I was a youth, they're still gay to this day. I mean,
it's like shocker.
30-year reunion. That's when me and my wife were friends, and her father, he was a fisherman, a pro fisherman, but we went to the 30-year reunion and we end up dating and getting married. But now we have our 40-year reunion coming up. But it's one of those things. It's like this evolution. Like, you know, even with my child too, I say to my child, you know, it's like she has so many gay friends, and I think it's like they're so precious. Every one of them, because at least they express themselves and they're not like hiding something. Because back in the day, it was weird. Like they used to hide it because they were afraid of getting, you know, ridiculed.
For sure.
It was so sad.
Well, I mean, I remember just in elementary, basic bullying
the worst.
happened, and it would be literally over nothing. So if you take something that is a little bit more out of the ordinary, I mean, they're gonna annihilate you. You know, I mean, people got picked on when I'm sure it was the same for you if you just wore glasses. Not to mention who it is that you're attracted to or whatever. So I understand the fear, you know, and sort of the wanting to like keep things to yourself because there was like serious risks on the table.
My kid has hairy arms just like me. It's horrible. I'm sorry. She goes, Dad, look what you did to me. You know, I mean, like, we'll get you. Like, I used to bleach it when she was a little kid, and I said, now you bleach it, right? She bleaches it all the time.
There you go.
It's like, I'm sorry. You know, I wish I had more hair on my head, but it's interesting. You know, but you know, it's weird too about this politics thing now. It's like I'm at the point, like I said this already, but I feel like it's like I just don't want to be bothered with the other side. You know what I mean? Like I'm so tired of. You know, it's like every story is about something else.
It's funny because on one hand, you know, I went to school. You know, we could talk about this some other time, but I went to school for journalism. You know, and so it's very hard for me not to pay attention to the news. And it's really hard for me not to investigate things. And it's, you know, sometimes I'll try to talk to Katie about stuff, and she's just like, dude. Like, she'll hear me out sometimes, but sometimes she's like, it's enough. You know, like, I can't even pay attention to what you're talking about anymore.
Everything could go back to Seinfeld, by the way. Just think about that, okay?
That's true.
It does.
That's true. You know, so it's tough for me to shut it off. But then other times, things get so intense or they get so ridiculous, you know, almost like on a comedic level. Like a dark comedy kind of thing. That I'll find myself just like, digging a hole and putting my head in it in the ground, and I only focus on like the gym, like jujitsu, and Katie and my friends and my family and music, and I have to just drone everything else out. Like I can't.
It's too much.
And I almost feel bad for it because I've always been sort of involved and like conscious of things and like very like in the know. But there's times where I just gotta block it out, and
it's too much.
You know, and I don't really think that we were made for processing this amount of shit, whether it's like information or politics or drama or problems. Like, you know, like humans have their limits, and we like to think that we don't. But you know, when you're getting too far away.
This journalism thing's interesting. This is it's cool because I really think that the writers are super important for any show, like whatever. But also is I keep a journal too of things that in the film business, that like color temperatures and different scenes, or if I have to go back to it. And so in this journal, every couple pages, I would kind of write down my day. You know what I mean? It's kind of cool to look back at it.
It's actually a really interesting journal to have all of your work information and like measurements and
it's horrible spelling.
A combination like that, like you did. Like if I wrote about, because I'm obsessed with the gym and the operation of the gym and training people. So if I made notes like on an educational level about that and then mixed it with my own random thoughts, I think that would make me want to do it. Because I think the reason I don't want to do it is it's almost like a running from therapy thing. Yeah, sure. Where like if I sit down to write in my journal, I'm afraid about what I'm going to write.
You got to be honest.
I'm afraid about, and I might write too much about.
Sure. Kind of fun,
because
there's
nothing out there like that.
Yeah, and like stuff we're talking about now, like some of these stories.
I saw you brought like some of your photos in.
Hundreds of photos.
I know people aren't going to be able to see this, but can you, before we wrap this up, can you just walk me through what some of these photos are, just so we can get it? Because I know there's a lot of history here. So.
Yeah.
So what is on here? Katie was saying there was a guy from the Star Wars voice.
James Earl Jones.
Okay, guy. Yeah.
And Robert Duvall. There's Michael Hausman. That's the guy that changed the bulbs. This is family thing.
Yeah.
And that's kind of fun. It's like I wish I had more. Oh, here's the thing I told you about. The next morning, and there's my jean jacket. The next morning, running across the street and going to work on a commercial.
Yeah.
Inside the Conrad Hilton.
Yeah.
And that was the morning before on ER. That's Eric LaSalle, I think, running.
Gotcha.
This was the TV show, The Untouchables. That was Bill Cartwright. I can't remember his name.
That was a huge
John Rhys Davies. Yeah,
that's a big crew.
This was another one. This was family thing. That was a small little project. Little Christian company had done a couple movies in town. $5 million there somewhere.
Yeah.
And this is Home Alone 3. That's inside a stage. We made the backyard, so that's in the stage. We lit it for daylight, and all that snow and all that stuff is all fake. And
it looks like it actually just snowed.
This was a Bill Duke movie.
Is that house real in the back there?
Yeah. No, that's all fake stuff.
That's a fake house.
That's actually that is a screen called a backdrop.
Okay, gotcha.
And we made these fences go up high enough, and we just light the backdrop, and it's basically a gigantic picture.
Yeah, those look like real structures.
Yeah,
for sure.
This was a movie called Hoodlums.
All right.
And that was
96.
it was with Tim Roth, and Bill Duke was the director, the guy from Predator.
Yeah, yeah.
The African-American gentleman, bald guy that, right there. That's
I see.
And that is a picture from Novocaine. I was a copper in Novocaine. Andrew Davis, the director.
Yep.
Here's one of my mentors, Alphonse Blumenthal, one of the finest. There's the gaffer right there, Gino Credidio.
Yeah.
Rich Moscow used to run the film office. And this is Mike Lewis, 45 years in the business with myself, Kathy Swanson here, Drew Ann Carlson. She was the script supervisor, AD department, electric, sound department, and this was an on-set painter. We were in the Tennessee Valley Authority, The Fugitive, where we were doing. Yeah, those are pretty much the big ones.
Cool.
We had a contest on the crew, and so they were going to take somebody's picture and put it on this, cover of this sports magazine.
Yeah.
For for the show.
That wasn't you, was it?
It's me.
Okay.
I went to hair and makeup, and I went to hair and makeup, and they gave me a black eye. They gave me a black eye, and then I blacked out my teeth with some tape.
That's awesome.
Yeah, here's a Chicago Fire, the postcard they made. But...
Oh, that's cool. Well, this is really fun to do. I appreciate you taking the time to do this.
Course.
I think I'll take you up on your idea, and maybe we'll do another one, get Ed on here, and then we can just, take another hour or two and just, chat our asses off.
Yeah,
see where it goes. But
and would you ever think about doing a location somewhere either? What do you think about that?
That might be cool. You mean like for the actual podcast, or to do a random podcast?
I'd say podcast right inside some random place. I know the owners of the Green Mill, and it would be the coolest off. And they got this little The little stage in the corner, you know what I mean? But just think about it.
Yeah, that would be really cool.
I just get so busy. After July, I'm like nonstop, but my weekends are wide open.
Yeah, the Green Mill would be incredible.
Yeah, or go sit in the park somewhere too. Could be fun.
That'd be awesome. I know that my friend Adam Kern, he, and I don't know if you've heard about it or not, because it's kind of a niche thing, but he runs a Porsche event in the city every year.
Oh, no shit.
It's called Checked It Out.
Oh, cool.
And it's in different locations all over the city. And it's generally, if I remember right, never in the same location. And he does it on the street. So this time it's in, I think, West Loop. And they'll shut a street down. Last year they did it. And
it's like racing stuff?
It's basically a car show.
Car show, cool, yeah.
Yep, it's a car show. And the reason I like it is it's not just fancy pants, really expensive, top of the line Porsche stuff. That's there.
Yeah.
But it's Porsche enthusiasts.
Yeah.
And it's people who have semi-nice Porsches. Some people, they bring their project car where one side of it looks nice and the other side, their fingers rusted out.
Yeah.
And because of that, it's just a very laid back, kind of chill, fun thing.
That'd be cool.
And we're going to do a podcast at the car show this year. So we're going to try to put a couple of Porsches back there and actually do it the night before the show.
It's great.
So that kind of goes to your point about, getting outside of the gym.
Sure.
And you go into some other locations.
Yeah, it might be fun.
Yeah. So
and maybe, you also could sit down people,
and
like, hey, chat
and you can
with
go to
us for a
them
minute.
too. You don't always have to rely on them coming to you.
Yeah.
And then you could probably, you could find someone fitting to have at the Green Mill.
Yeah.
Rather than, just a random guest.
We were doing a movie called Chain Reaction with Keanu Reeves. I did hardball with him too. And I know him well.
Yeah.
And so we were doing this thing, and we were in Lake Geneva. We were doing when he goes across the frozen lake on the boat.
Yeah.
And so this film crew comes up to me, and the TV crew comes up to me, and they start chit-chatting with me. I talked for so long, the camera battery died. It was the funny. And they kept asking me questions. I just kept talking.
Yeah.
So I understand, but I really appreciate you, dude.
Yeah, no, it's
awesome,
been fantastic.
Thank you